So yesterday I come across this yard and I found a whole bunch of lethargic foragers kind of hanging out in the grass in the shadows beside the hives. And it's in the middle of the afternoon now the next day, and they've all disappeared. So what I'm thinking is they've had the sunshine on them and they flew back into the hive. Well, here's a few caught in the shadow yet. These guys aren't dead. They're just sitting here lethargic. So what I thought was a complete loss isn't. This guy I brought out of the shadow. Look at he flew away. Come back to life. So just one of those interesting things. Here's a little nuke. It was just like a grapefruit size of bees. The nice little queen inside. And I don't know how they survived winter because I put them in. I didn't even expect these guys to survive. They were just a nuke made up late September with the queen. And somehow she made it through. So I found this bunch of bulk bees, but from another queenless hive. And I brought it back and I shook those bees into this box. There's probably 3 frames of bees that I shook into this box. And I divided the two with newspaper. So I just want to see how I've noticed there's no bees up top here now. So I'm assuming all these bees moved down to the queen. I just want to see how successful the merger was. So they ate the patty I gave to them. Here's the newspaper between the two. There wasn't much of a hole, but it's just enough to siphon all the bees down. I have my smoker with me, but they should be able to let me just dig down to see if the merger was successful. No honey there. I should give them a frame of honey. So obviously all the bees moved down. Nothing in that frame. Just a good mass of bees. And eggs. So this looks good. This is the size of the original cluster right here. You can see the mature brood. It's, like a grapefruit. But she's stretched her nest way out to there now. Lots of eggs. And on this side, she's stretching her nest now that she has more bees. She's using those bees to bring in the resource to be able to build this nest. Nothing on that side. These guys are hungry. This side is packed full of brood. Eggs and just hatched. There she is. Nice little blackie. My favorite queens. So this one has just some hardened honey in it. I gotta find some honey for these guys. Top box had some honey, so I'll drop a frame of honey on this side. These fives are really tight, so we gotta be mindful that we don't squish any bees when we're dealing with them. So that is that. A successful merger, another one. We salvaged some bees. We boosted a hive. Turned these guys productive. Brought some viability back to this colony. Gonna give him some NutriBee, some of the good stuff. That should tide him over. So I'm just gonna leave this colony here right on my cement pad. I kind of use it to catch all the drifters that happen to come in on the truck. And then I'll move it out to the summer yard. We'll take these guys out and fill a dead spot up somewhere. I see pollen coming in the front here, so these guys are lots of pollen coming in. So these guys are just starting to move forward now. So earlier on I identified some weaker units and I identified some stronger units. And I took the weaker units, I put them over the stronger units. I used newspaper and excluders just to, just to allow the bees to merge, boost the top colony to be able to establish a better nest. So I just want to check on these colonies just to see where we're at. Got some bees up here. So it looks like this top box has been boosted slightly. We'll just see how well. Side frame doesn't have a lot. Going on there. Okay, here's some brood. She's pushing out a little bit. She's pushing that one down just a bit. Not what I was kind of expecting though. There's not as many bees in here, maybe that's why. We've got to figure out what's going on here. Yeah, there's nothing going on this frame. So I must have missed her. So there's not as many bees in here as I thought. I look at colonies on the top bars and they always lie to you because they come to the top and they look at you and it looks like it's a great big hive. But there's actually F-all in here for bees. There's enough in here to establish and rear just a little brood nest, but that's not what I'm after right now. So I haven't found her, but I know she's in there because of all the eggs. Neat, tidy little brood nest, but we just need more bees. We need more resource. We need more brood. What's going on here? So they have just started coming through this newspaper. So I'm going to tear it up a little bit more just to help quicken up the merger. Be patient on this one, so I'll come back in another week and a half or so and see what's up. Okay. These guys are no bigger than the hive when I put it on. Lots of eggs. she's obviously in here, but so this merger is slow too. So they have just started coming through the newspaper. So I'm going to hurry it up a bit and tear it up for them. It's been 2 weeks. This should have been done already. It's not acceptable. Wasting time. They could have been sharing the population of bees down below. They could have been establishing a brilliant nest up on top already. So now we have to wait still. So I just lost 2 weeks of development in this top box. Ah, damn it, and this one too. Yeah, they didn't merge. Look, there's hardly any bees here. This one might be, oh, there she is. Yeah, she's laying. So I just, these guys are close to being shaken out, so I'm just going to leave them. I'm going to see if the merger, what'll happen in a week and a half, because I'm not going to lose anything right now. But I give up, 2 weeks. 2 weeks development. This colony has fallen backwards. This one is close to being shooken out. I'll see what it's up in a week and a half and be pretty critical on them, but what I want is this bottom colony, large colony in the bottom, to move up, boost this top colony and bring some life back into here. So this is a fail so far. Not a fail, a delay. These guys. Let's hurry up the merger. So I'm going to go through the rest of the yard, and I'm going to make sure that I'm not going to check the top box. I'm just going to make sure that these bees have been going through the newspaper. I'm not sure why they're not going through it. Might be the type of newspaper I'm using. Kind of that glossy type isn't a good newspaper. I guess it's harder to chew up. I need that, recycled paper type. I know better than that. But anyways, I'll just have to deal with it. So I'll go through the rest of the colonies here just to check, to make sure they actually are emerging, and take it from there. So here's one that has merged properly. There's lots of bees up here. Going to take a peek, not a detailed look or anything. Eggs. Not a full frame of eggs, but stretched out. Get into some brood here. Eggs on this whole side of this frame. So they must have just brought, oh, look at this frame. There she is. So as you can see here, you probably can't see here. The queen is right here. You can see this little patch of brood. That's the original nest. That's how big this nest was when I transferred over. And she has this whole side of frame filled out. You can't see it, but there's the old larvae, the cap brood, older larvae all the way out here, eggs all the way out to the outside. So she is absolutely brilliant. This is why I put some time into salvaging her. She was a small colony for whatever reason, obviously not of her own, because we've run into tough conditions last summer, and this merger is a success. So I'm going to give these guys some time, I'm going to allow them to develop out 3-4 frames of capped brood, and then I'll take this colony off here and let them go on their own. And by that time, these two colonies should be pretty much equalized. There'll be 3-4 frames of brood up top. This bottom box will be packed. They'll be sharing the population. I'll take this away as a split and transfer these guys both into single boxes. So that's good to see. So that's what I wanted to see in those other colonies. I'm just going to have to be a little more patient.